Today's blog episode, we're going to talk about all of the insects that are competing for your blood in the Boundary Waters Canoe area. Just briefly, I'm going to describe each one. There's the typical mosquito you guys are probably familiar with. There's hordes and hordes of them though, so you'll be surprised. It just depends on the time of year. Sometimes it's not that bad, and it also depends on the weather and how the spring was. And that's going to determine the amount of bugs that actually come out. So the mosquitoes, that's going to be an issue. They have another bug out there called Nocium. These are really, really small, and they bite, and they are more annoying than anything. And then they have your black flies. These will come in, and you know they're pretty smart. You'll have some experience with these. And then they have the horse flies. These are the giant B-52s. They come out and they look like little tsetse flies in Africa. And they'll bite and take it. And it feels like they've taken a chunk out, but it's not that bad. So dealing with the bugs. Oh, one more. We also have wood ticks and deer ticks. Those are also things that are in the underbrush, and we have to try and deal with those at the same time. So dealing with these bugs out in this area. I'm going to show you kind of what I do when the bug and the insect season is at the height, okay? And you can sort of back down from here depending on what happens. So if you think about dealing with bugs on a gradation scale, we're going to be at the top of the scale, and then you can sort of go back down that arc depending on how bad things actually are, okay? So first thing I'm going to start with is the actual repellent that you need. You want to go with something that has DEET in it. Anything else that doesn't have DEET in it doesn't really work. Okay, so just want to be real honest about that. There's lots of competing markets, and there's all kinds of products out there that they're talking about chemical-free things like that, but the reason why the DEET works is because it's tricking the bugs into, you know, they actually can't see you, or they're not able to sense it. It screws up their senses. Okay, and so this one is this is a repellent that actually works. So, anyways, Cutter. This is a brand that I like to use, and Off. This is another brand that I like to use. The Deep Woods one. The more deep, the better. Probably about 25% or so. Maybe more than that. It starts to. I don't know. You do have to kind of take all of that stuff into account, okay? 100% DEET is not something that you would even put on your skin. So 25% is good enough. The way I apply it, rather than just spraying it all over the place, is actually to spray some in my hand and apply it. And this gets you a more thorough and even coating. What happens when you spray it in the air is that the air and the wind blows most of it away, and you end up wasting most of it. So it's real important that you do spray some in your hand and then apply it to the areas that are exposed. A lot of times though, you're dealing in the boundary waters, the weather is such that putting on a whole bunch of bug spray and then putting on a whole bunch of clothing, that might not be the most comfortable situation, and it isn't really even needed to use bug spray. So what I'll do in those situations is I actually have a little pack here that I have all of my bug gear in. So I'll pull this out. So what this looks like when I get all this set up is I've got a long sleeve kind of pullover, real light, and I'll put this over whatever I'm wearing, maybe over my PFD if I have to, but I'll put this over whatever I'm wearing. This is water resistant too, so you can get sort of spritzed on, rained on a little bit, and it's going to kind of keep the water out. And I'll make sure that it's closed up at the neck. And I'll put on a hat like this, and you'll see why. This is very good for sun protection, by the way, and I recommend this hat when you're out rather than just a baseball cap. Both will work, but this one has an added advantage. When I put this on, and I put on my bug net, I can put this right over the top of it. And what this does is, you can see it holds it out away from my neck. Because what will happen is the bugs will actually they'll start, if it's really close to your neck, they'll actually start to like bite right through the mesh. Okay, so you want to hold that away from your skin so that they're not as bad. So I'll put this down, make sure that there's no holes that they can kind of crawl up and whatever. And then, depending on the temperature, I'll put on a pair of gloves like this. Tuck this inside. And what I've done is I've created an impenetrable clothing barrier to all the bugs. And what this does here, by tucking the inside in, especially when I'm moving through the forest, is it makes it so that any ticks, they can't crawl up your sleeves and up the holes where your limbs come out of your clothes. And that's an important aspect. So as you can see here, I'm protected. I can canoe. I'm not going to be bothered by any bugs, and I'm also going to stay warm, okay, on those really cold days. So this is what you would do when it is as bad as it possibly can get. Like I said, you go back down on that scale. You can just resort with, you can get by with just regular insect repellent. But a lot of times that's not even enough. So you've got to come out there and be prepared to face whatever you're going to face. Clothing is your best bet to try and deal with the insects. So you want to make sure that you have the right clothing with you. A good bug net, a hat that you can put on that keeps the netting away from your skin, and something that you can put on that's got long sleeves, and it's a kind of material that the bugs can't bite through. Okay, so just be aware of all that stuff. And you know what? Once you deal with the bugs and you come prepared for it, they're not a problem. You can go out and you can do all kinds of interesting and fun things. So, hope you learned something. Have a great day.